Hi, everyone. My name is Anthony Caruso III, and I am the publisher of the Capital Sports Report. I am also the host of the Capital Sports Report Live. Tonight, we are joined by Jim Dunn Racing funny car driver Jim Campbell. Welcome to the show tonight, Jim.
Well, thank you, Anthony. It's a pleasure to be on your show as I once was before.
Yes. Could you tell our audience why you wanted to become a funny car driver?
Well, there's a lot of unique jobs out there in the world, and I'm an adrenaline junkie, so I enjoy going fast. And kind of started out as a bet/bucket list thing in my life, and was fortunate enough to get an opportunity to drive the Worsham family funny car after receiving training at Frank Holly's drag racing school in the alcohol car in 2015.
Yes, that was actually my next question. What was it like attending the Frank Halley Drag Racing School to make it a reality? First, you did the nostalgia funny car licensing, and then you did the nitro funny car licensing, and you got your nitro license at Famoso Raceway, a historic track.
That is correct. Listen, Frank Hawley is an amazing man. I recommend anybody out there that wants to learn how to drag race, drive any type of car. Frank Hawley is definitely the man to teach you. He's just very analytical, and being a funny car driver and two-time world champ himself, knows exactly what to do and what you're looking at and what you think you're looking at and what you're not. So he's really an amazing man.
Yes, I just saw that a few days ago, I believe it was. There was a young woman that was testing an top alcohol funny car with hopes of being a nitro funny car driver in the near future. I think it was Jensen Racing. So we'll
Yes,
see
I've heard
if
about that.
she gets an opportunity in the near future on driving one of these in the next few years. Your
I hope
first
so.
opportunity, your first opportunity, you said, was with Dell Worsham and the Worsham Family Funny Car. You got your license with them, and then your first few NHRA national events was with them. Could you talk about working with Dell and Chuck Worsham?
Absolutely a thrill. Dell, extremely smart. Chuck, extremely smart. A lot of experience. Dell's a great tuner. Obviously, he's tuning Alexis's car now, but they gave me the opportunity to license in the Nitro Funny car after I got my nostalgia license. Like you said, we did it out at Famosa Raceway, and it was absolutely just an awesome experience. And to have that knowledge and those people behind me was a wonderful opportunity.
You called it a wonderful opportunity to work with Chuck and Dell, but when you work with Dell, he's not only a tuner, but he's a multi-time champion in the sport, very knowledgeable. What was it like to have his guidance, but to work with early on in your career?
It was extremely huge. Again, Dell being a multi-time world champion, Chuck's been doing funny cars for years. Just a great, and the crew that we had around us, Corey Lee, Jeff Wren. So I had a lot of experience around me to teach you. They tell you how to drive the car. In reality, you don't really know how to drive the car until you actually get it and stomp the throttle.
When you debuted with them at your first national event, what was that like? I'm sure there had to be a lot of nervousness and maybe even some pressure on you to do well with the team that you were working with.
Absolutely. Well, my first national event was the 2016 Winter Nationals and the CSFS car, which was operated by the Worsham family. And, that's in the days when we ran the laid back headers. So when I learned to drive a nitro funny car, it was when we ran the 32-degree headers, and it was a handful then. And not that they're a handful now, too, but it was definitely a fast car. What I really wanted to do and the pressure of it was do good on my first race. And I believe my first race ever competitively was against Alexis Jajoria, and I ran a 4.04, but I did lose in the first round.
After working with the Worsham family, You received an opportunity to compete again in the sport with Terry Haddock's, with the Haddock Racing Team. Could you talk about working with him?
Terry gave me a chance to drive his car in between driving the Worsham family car. And, Terry's a fighter. He's out there at all the races, on a smaller budget, but I was still able to attend national events and get some seat time. And there's nothing more important than getting seat time in one of these nitro funny cars.
Speaking of seat time, how long did it take you before you were fully comfortable driving one of these 11,000 horsepower monsters?
Well, it takes some time to definitely get comfortable in the seat, and not every funny car run is the same. So each run is different. Things can happen. So basically, what you got to do is get comfortable with yourself and get comfortable with the car. It's just really hard to explain that they can teach you all the stuff that they want until you get inside the car and stomp the throttle. Then you realize what they're talking about.
In 2017, in the off season, a very, very legendary team made the decision to hire you, and that's the Jim Dunn Racing Team, which you've been working with since 2017. What's it like to be a part of? David, I'll get to that in a second. So we have a guest question for you.
All right.
What's it like working with the Jim Dunn Racing Team?
It's absolutely phenomenal. Jim Dunn has so much knowledge and has been doing this for so long. It's an honor and a pleasure to drive for Jim Dunn Racing. Big Jim has just got more knowledge in his pinky than I'll have in my brain ever. John Dunn, Diane Dunn, Jonathan, the whole Dunn family has been wonderful to me, and I could not have asked for a better team to drive for. Along with that, Jim being a mentor, he's taught me so much over the last 6 years. And same with John. They've been around the sport a long time, so I owe them a lot of gratitude and appreciate driving the opportunity to drive their funny car.
So we have a fan, well, not really a fan, but a racer submitted a question for you. So this is David Gates. He's going to be driving the Crossfire Jet Dragster. I know you like Jet Dragsters, Jim. So here's your question: can you talk about what you are experiencing inside of a run?
Absolutely. It's about a minute and 48. We try to do it. Every team has set up what they want to do. Jim Dunn likes to do a short burnout. So we'll have the other car will start first, or we'll start first and then roll out. But that way we're backing up at the same time. We're not holding anybody up. Once you get strapped in the car, it's all about focus. As you get up to the line and they start the car, you do your burnout, and back up and everything else, all your procedures. Once they release the track to you, both crew chiefs acknowledge each other and release the track to you. That's where it really comes into. You really got to be in the game. You've got a handful of car underneath of you. You pre-stage the car. You pull the fuel on the high side, the pump. So now you're pouring in gallons and gallons of fuel per minute. And at the same time, you're thinking about, I'm going to make sure I put this thing on straight down the track and try to cut a light. Cutting the light's easier said than done. We always used to joke around about it and say, oh, I can cut 60, 70 lights. It's not as easy as it sounds, but I'm trying to get better on my lights. And that's probably where I need the most work, is working on my lights. But I'm improving on them.
David, hopefully Jim answered your question there. You mentioned working and being mentored by Jim Dunn, a very long time drag racer in the sport, been around 50 plus years, maybe longer than that. What's it like to just learn and listen to him? Like you said, he's got more knowledge in his pinky than you ever. But what's it like to work with him day in and day out on this race team?
It's really, really cool. Like I said, for any of the viewers that are listening, if you've ever seen Funny Car Summer, Jim Dunn's a stud. There's just no other way to put it. And to learn from him and to work for him. Does he get mad at me sometimes? Absolutely. Does he congratulate me sometimes? Absolutely. But he's always trying to make me a better funny car driver. And that is something that I will appreciate for all my life to come.
For those that do not know and watching this live feed, both Jim and Jim Dunn have firefighting experience. Could you talk about the background that you both share with one another?
Well, Jim worked for LA County Fire for many years, and I was a paramedic for many years. So him and I made an attachment that way. But I think mostly what we made an attachment with is just a genuine, being a new funny car driver, I didn't have any bad habits because I didn't have any habits. Now that I have 6-7 years under my belt, you start to get sometimes complacent on a funny car, and you can't, because everyone is different. And Jim's great about reminding me of what to do and what not to do. And then he'll show me on the computer, this is what went right. This is what went wrong. This is what you need to improve on. So it's totally a team effort. It's not just the driver. It's mostly the team. The car is going to do what the car is going to do. My job is to leave on time, keep it in the groove, and handle any emergency en route.
For those that are watching this that might not know, I want to go back to David's question, and he talked about what are your experiences inside of run. And Jim can talk about this as well. When these funny car drivers go down the track, inside of that car, inside of that funny car, it is shaking like crazy, and they have to drive it to the finish line with it blurry and everything inside of there, but they make it happen. And so I don't know if Jim touched on that, but that's very, very difficult to do, and it's you have to have a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge and experience to get down the track and know what you're doing in that run, because a lot is going on in just those 3 seconds.
That is absolutely correct. So I've had people ask me, and I'll explain it to your audience. There's 3 types of runs. One that goes perfectly down the middle, and you drive the car and it just glues your eyeballs back. And once you hit the parachute, you can start to see again. The second one would be tire shake. And people ask me what tire shake feels like. And I try to explain to them. And this was probably the best way. If you want to go down to your local Menards, Lowe's, or Home Depot and get real friendly with the paint shaker guy, put your head in the paint shaker, put your head on the switch, and when you've had enough, you'll know when to lift off the throttle on tire shake. And then tire spin is just a feel of the car. We pull a lot of G's, and once you start spinning the tires, those G's go away, and that's when you tell that you're spinning the tires, and hopefully you lift in time before you grenade the blower off.
Yeah, we don't want that.
No, fires are not fun in a funny car.
Yes, because the engine's right in front of you.
That is correct.
Jim, let's go back 5 seasons. During your rookie season with Jim Dunn Racing, you made it to 2 semifinal appearances. The first one was in Phoenix in February, and then during the summertime, you went to Denver and went into the semifinals again. Could you talk about? I'll get to that in a second, David. Could you talk about making those 2 semifinal appearances?
Oh, absolutely. There's nothing like going rounds, especially when you're a young guy. So my first round win ever was in my second race in Las Vegas, driving the Worsham family car. And you couldn't wipe the smile off my face. Going to the semifinals and actually having a chance for the finals and to win a Wally, which is everybody's ultimate goal and dream, there's nothing more fun. Again, everything's got to go right sometimes on these cars. If it drops a cylinder or you have a late light or something like that, you can give away a race real quick. And the heat sometimes plays a big factor in that too as we get into the summer races here.
David again chimed in and said, would you ever drive a jet dragster?
Absolutely. I have a couple buddies of mine. Dave probably knows Ken Hall.
Yep.
Yeah. And I would love the opportunity to take a jet dragster down the strip. I think that would be fun. Again, it's a totally different world between thrust versus horsepower. But I'm a big jet dragster. I call them marshmallow burners. They always laugh at me, but I love jet cars. And so when they run a lot of times at the race, I will try to go out and watch them at the end of our qualifying sessions.
Yes, well, they used to do that at every national event, but I don't remember if they started doing them anymore.
They did them in, just at this last event here. We had a couple of jet cars. So most of the time they try to get in some jet cars for exhibition.
Okay. I know when we were at Maple Grove last year, they had Ernie Bogue, and he didn't even run.
Yes, that's true. Sometimes, again, it's an exhibition thing. Depending on the weather and stuff like that, we know that NHRA tries to get in the pro qualifying sessions so we can get that done. So sometimes some of the other classes, which I feel bad for, don't get the opportunity to run. Same with the exhibition and the jet dragster. So it's just a matter of weather sometimes. Sometimes it's going to rain and sometimes it's not. And we try to get as much in as we can. And I give NHRA all the credit for doing the best they can. And let's give a shout out to NHRA and the Safety Safari, who does a phenomenal job of keeping us safe when we get in trouble, and the track prep that they put together. Sometimes there's one lane that's better than the other, but usually both lanes are good. And it's just a matter of, do you have the right setup or not?
And for those that are not aware, the NHRA Safety Safari are the first people at the track and usually one of the last people to leave every day.
Absolutely. They do a phenomenal job, and kudos to them. And kudos to all of the NHRA people that do everything from the media to the Safety Safari, to the higher echelons and the hierarchy of the NHRA. They all do a great job, and it's an honor to be a part of this motorsports group.
These last few seasons before last season, so 18, 19, and 20, the team with Jim Dunn struggled. It's a fair assessment to say. But things started to turn around last season. Did you guys do anything differently going into the 2021 season from the previous seasons?
Well, you know what I love about Big Jim is he's always thinking. That man sits there and looks at the computer over and over and over. John, his son, has got a lot of knowledge, and they sit there and go back and forth. What can we do on the clutch? What can we do on the blower? Jim is really good about that. We struggled a little bit with the 6-disc, so we went back to the 5-disc, and Jim's really got a handle on it, and this car is starting to run better and better. And this weekend, again, proved that we are a 390s car instead of a 4.0 car. And we're somebody to be contended with here as we come into the countdown for the 2022 season.
For your team, you guys do not test, but a lot of other teams do. Do you feel like maybe, I don't want to say it's like a disadvantage, but when you guys are competing, that's the only time you're able to try stuff out. So does that, like, you have to like put more effort into the qualifying and stuff like that to make it where you're testing sometimes?
Well, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Again, budgets come into play sometimes, but Jim has been doing this so long and has got so much knowledge from each different track that we don't always have to test. Is it an advantage to test? Absolutely. You can try new parts and new clutch setups and stuff like that. But Jim does a darn good job, and John does a great job of putting the clutch together. And like I said, they have so much information that usually it comes out pretty good.
Last season, in the very first race of the year, you had your third semifinal appearance at Pomona 1. Could you talk about that semifinal appearance?
Well, that was great. Pomona, we always drive the Moon Eyes car, which is really, really cool. The Moon Eyes car is absolutely legendary. That was, with this COVID thing, everything got shuffled around for the last couple of years. And so we ran the Winter Nationals basically in the summer, and it was brutally hot. Brutally hot.
Last July, yes.
And, Jim Dunn's known for getting a race car down a hot track. That's one of the things he's very famous for. Is when we race in the heat, we seem to do especially well. So I couldn't be happier that, especially I really wanted to win that one because it's my home track, but make it to the semifinals in Pomona was very exciting, and that to finish number 10 in the world last year was very exciting as well.
Yeah, I was actually going to touch on that next. Your career high best finish was finishing 10th on the season last season. Could you talk about what that meant to your team, your sponsors, and everyone associated with Jim Dunn Racing?
Oh, it meant everything to us. We're not, we don't have the huge budgets, but we make the car go down the track. We go to every race. And for us to finish number 10, the whole team was ecstatic. I was ecstatic to be one of the top 10 funny car drivers in the world. It's just a privilege. And I couldn't be happier and hope to repeat it or maybe do a little bit better this year.
I don't know if they shared anything with you, but did you guys see like an increased sponsorship presence from being 10th in the world last season?
I'm sure we did. I know I got a lot of attaboys and stuff like that, and so did the team. Anytime you can finish in the top 10 in any sport, you've done well. So for us to do that definitely showed that we're a top 10 car, and this year we're going to try to be try to go ninth, eighth, seventh, sixth, always trying to get better and better. And this last race, I think we really made a breakthrough.
This season, as we briefly talked about beforehand, it's been a struggle. You just had one first round win, which came in Houston. I believe that was over Wilkerson. Could you talk about this season so far?
Absolutely. Well, the car's been running good. It's been going down the track on race day. In NHRA drag racing, it's just luck of the draw. In some of these races that I've lost in the first round, if you were paired up against anybody else, you would have won. But I happen to get that one car that runs better or more, more well than I did, and it's just luck of the draw on race day.
And that happens. I remember, I think it was Charlotte, Alexis DeJoria. She had like a good time, but in her pairing, it was like third or fourth worst. And then like everyone else that was outside of her pairing, like had a worse time than her, and she was done because of her pairing that she was put in.
Absolutely, it is really luck of the draw. Like I said, we on race day we've been going down the track, and we just happen to get that opponent that goes down the track as well, and then somebody else goes out and shakes or spins the tires or drops a cylinder, and we would have won that round, but that's not the way the pairings wound up as.
Jim, we are finished for the. We're not finished this episode, but we're finished with the four wide racing for the season. What's your opinion on the four wides that we have in Las Vegas and Charlotte?
Well, it's interesting. Sometimes it's a concentration breaker. You got four lights that you got to make sure that goes on. So sometimes you can get distracted very easy. At the same time, it doesn't really matter how many cars that you're running against. It's just a matter in that make sure that you follow your procedures. And I'm not looking left or right. And I will say that when you're in lanes 2 and 3, you are looking opposite way of the tree, so that's a little unusual. But in that aspect, I like the four wides. Sometimes there's a sensory overload. I don't know about the fan wise. You watch the two cars that make it down, or the two cars that are trying to make it down. So, but I think it's a unique thing in our sport. And Vegas and Charlotte are both Bruton Smith tracks, and they're outstanding facilities. So it does make it fun and exciting for the spectators.
You mentioned the sensory overload. Is it the Christmas tree that's different? The 44,000 horsepower that's different? What as a driver? What's you touched on it briefly, but what's the most difficult aspect of that kind of racing?
Definitely your lights, because you have four lights to look at instead of two. So once everybody's in pre-stage, you got to remember what lane you're in, and that's the key. 1, 2, 3, or 4. So if you think you're in lane 2, or maybe they'll do a lane swap on race day, and I had that happen to me the second year that I got swapped from lane 1 to lane 3, but my mind was still telling me I was in lane 1, and I rolled in and pre-staged, and I'm looking at 1's light, and I was actually 3, and thought to myself, wow, whoever's in lane 3 really wants to go, because they were already staged. And then I realized that was me.
Oh, wow.
So you've definitely got to keep your focus and remember what lane you're in.
Yeah, thankfully we have that in the beginning of the season and not towards the end, because that could really mess up the countdown to the championship.
Right. I agree with you 100%. And like I said, a couple races a year, it's unique and it's different. Drag racing generally to me is the 2 cars next to each other, and the fastest car wins.
So just 2 is enough, and we don't want no more. You're thinking.
Well, like I said, I don't mind the 4 wides, but I like the 2 wides, best.
Better.
But I don't mind running the 4 wides.
You
Side by sides worth that. I'm sorry.
You touched on the summer months, and we're now officially in June. The temperature at these tracks are going to get very, very hot. We're going to go to Bristol, and well, you guys are going to Bristol in 2 weeks. Then Ohio, and then you go to the Denver, Sonoma, Seattle, and Brainerd, and then Indy,
Topeka just before Brainerd.
Topeka, and then you're gonna that stretch is gonna be very, very hot for you guys, and you're wearing so much gear on. How, as a driver, do you deal with the hot and summer temperatures? Because not only do you have the fire suit on, you have the scarf that goes over your face, you got the helmet, you got the heavy gloves on, the heavy boots on. You got so much gear on while you're not in the car very, very long, except for a few minutes. It's got to be very draining in those cars when it's very hot out.
Absolutely. And you can be stuck in the car. So during the summer months, even when it's cool out, you're still warm. We wear an 8-layered thick fire suit. I've got thermals on underneath. I've got 2 sets of gloves on. I've got, racing shoes on and fire boots on, and your helmet and your head sock. So it gets extremely hot. The whole thing about that is you got to stay hydrated, whether you're a driver, whether you're a crew member, or whether you're a fan at these hot races. The key is just stay hydrated.
And we saw an episode. What was that? I think it was Jess and Ashley, where he couldn't run that final round. I think it was that Pomona, because he was dehydrated.
Absolutely. Like I said, we're all human beings, and it gets extremely hot. Just as a fan, I've seen fans, get dehydrated and stuff like that. As drivers, we can be anywhere. So we usually strap in 5 pairs back. If somebody oils down in front of you, you can have a 10, 15, 20-minute delay. Well, that's brutally hot in there. And you just I'll take a wet paper towel and just keep trying to wipe my face and trying to keep my eyes cool. But like I said, staying hydrated is the key to it.
Wow. What do you do to stay hydrated? I know you had that hydration. One time you gave me this drink that was like a hydration drink when we were at Maple Grove. I don't know if you're still sponsored by those guys.
We're not. That was Squenchers. That was a cool looking car. But I drink a lot of water and electrolytes. So that's the key, is to stay hydrated. The one thing that does suck sometimes is the more water you drink, the more you have to go to the bathroom. And once you're belted in one of these cars, you're not going anywhere. So it's just a matter of staying hydrated. I can't stress that enough during the hot races or anytime. Staying hydrated is the key.
Yes. This season, you were sponsored by DePinto International Logistics, Blaze Technologies, and KGC Kindness General Contractors. So KGC Kindness General Contractors. Could you talk about working with these companies as your primary sponsors?
Well, they're great. You know, Rob DePinto from DePinto Logistics. He's just an awesome guy. Loves the sport of drag racing. He was out at the race this weekend, and he hadn't been out there for a while. Again, COVID really put a glitch into a lot of things that all of us do, including the drag races. But it was great to have him out there. Ralph owns Blaze Technologies, very nice man, great company. All of the teams. The Blaze Technology makes the temperature probes that we use on our headers, and all the teams use those from Blaze Technologies. And then Kindness General Contracting, Jeff Kindness, I've known him for 25, 30 years. He's been a friend of mine. And when he came on board, he does both of the Vegas races, kind of like Moon Eyes does on both of the Pomona races. So just great people to be around. And I enjoy their company and I appreciate their sponsorship very much.
This past weekend at New England Dragway in Epping, New Hampshire, in Q2, you had your best run ever at 3.950 at 319.67 miles per hour. Could you talk about that pass?
Well, it was great. You know, on Friday, we were a little iffy on the rain. So we had a window of opportunity when we ran a 3.96 with a 5, I think. And I thought, well, that was a good run. And then to go out in the heat on Saturday in Q2 and run a 3.95 flat was awesome. It was a great feeling. And I'll tell you, you could tell you're on a good run when that clutch goes 1-to-1 and it just glues you back. You know you're on a good run. So I couldn't be more excited. New career numbers for me. And it's definitely great for the team. But I think we found something. And I think the other teams and stuff like that, they also realize that we're not a 4.0 car, we're a 390s car. As long as the driver does his job inside the car, we could maybe go some rounds here.
How do you keep up that performance with that career best pass that you had in Epping? How do you keep that up when we go to Bristol in 2 weeks and then Ohio after that?
Well, it's all about momentum. I think in any sport, we see that, some teams get momentum going and all of a sudden they're, really, really good. Like I said, Jim studies this computer and John does a lot with the clutch and Randy, just the whole team together makes some decisions. And we've been trying to step it up and it's definitely showed on this last race. So as we go again, the hotter it gets, the harder it is to run these real fast numbers because you'll either drop a cylinder, spin the tires, something like that. But if you hit the setup right and it goes straight down the middle and everything works perfect, you're on another career run. So we're not looking to stop at a 3.95. We're looking to go lower.
The next question I had is about, I don't know if you deal with this personally, but I'm sure your team has, parts wise. So we have a little problem going on with inflation, and if you order parts today, you're not getting them today, you're getting them months from today. How are you guys, how is the team adjusting to that?
Well, Big Jim and John and Diane and all this stuff, they think so far ahead. So we have parts. They ordered them ahead of time. Like you said, it has been a unique experience here. Sometimes it's hard to get stuff and it's far out. But Jim and John and Diane and everybody, they planned this out before the season started. So right now we're doing pretty good on parts. Obviously, the less parts we hurt per run, the better. So, we did kick the rods out once on this weekend, so that's not a good thing, but it happens, and we hadn't done that in a while. So right now we're looking pretty good at parts, but we'll see how it goes throughout the rest of the season. And hopefully this turns around for everybody because this inflation stuff is killing a lot of things that are potentially great out there.
Yes, I agree, and hopefully, I don't know when, but this is hurting everyone, not only you guys in the NHRA, but all kinds of motorsports and the general public on gas and everything else. It's like insane.
Oh, absolutely. It's definitely changed. I mean, with these with all the haulers and stuff like that, and taking the cars to different tracks. Diesel's much more expensive. It's definitely changed the tone of how you try to run. We don't want to hurt parts because, like you said, they're hard to get. And at the same time, everything has gone up. Turnaround times to get the parts. That's why I really give credit to Jim and John for thinking ahead and making sure that we have the adequate parts that we need.
You mentioned diesel, Jim, and that's a problem with your race team. Your race team is in California, and you had to go across the country and then north to Epping, New Hampshire this past weekend. That had to be an insane amount of diesel gas that you guys use for that.
Absolutely. And James is our truck driver, and he also does heads on the team. He's awesome, and he spends a lot of time on the road. So I don't know how he does it, but he does it, and I appreciate everything that he does. But that's a lot of driving, without a doubt.
Yeah, because the majority of the nitro teams and majority of all the pro teams, except for some pro stock teams, are based in Indiana, so Brownsburg, Indiana, and so it's easier. It's like a central location for them to get. But for you guys, it's always like, especially when you come over here east, like Virginia. You're just in Virginia. Now, I don't know if he's going to take the rig back to California or go to Bristol and then fly back. I don't know, but that's got to be a lot of traveling and a lot of gas you guys burn from California and then come all the way over east. It's 3,000 miles at least or more to race over here on the East Coast, being a California team.
Right, and what we do is on some of these East Coast swings to where we have 4 or 5 races in a row, we just pack the trailer up with parts, and we'll go through them, but we pack them up with parts. That way, we try to make as few trips back as possible. We'll obviously restock as we come back for the Western Swing, but I believe the truck's going to stay on the road, and we have Bristol and Norwalk, which are back to back. The truck will go home and we'll resupply. So again, trying not to hurt parts on these races is some of the key. When you run hard, you hurt parts. So we try to run hard and not hurt parts, but it doesn't always work that way.
And being that you deal with an explosive, I shouldn't say, well, we know these things explode, but you're dealing with a car that's like a ticking time bomb, and you're trying to save as much parts, save as much money, and make sure you don't mess up that $50,000 body on that funny car every pass. It's got a lot for Jim and you guys to deal with.
Well, they're $100,000 for the body, and we definitely don't want to blow a body off. Yeah, they're not cheap, and then by the time you wrap them, it's an expensive piece. We try not to blow the bodies off. Sometimes stuff happens; it's out of your control. But a lot of times, the nice thing about it is that there are things that I can't see sometimes. Maybe I can feel it. I can shut the car off. The crew chiefs do have a kill switch that if they see something going bad, so if I've got a cylinder out or something like that, they have the capabilities to shut off the car. So all the teams have that. And then we have safety systems in the car that also, if we have pan pressure or something like that, that'll shut the car off automatically, the Leahy safety system.
Yes. I talked about traveling in the diesel, but I wanted to know, with your team, you have a special situation with your team. So there's several women in your as crew members with teams, and one is with your team. Joanna Dunn, she works for your team. She's the granddaughter of Jim Dunn and John Dunn, and she's also works at a hospital in California. At least I knew she was. I don't know if she still is, but I believe she still is. She works at a hospital like during the week and then works with you guys on the weekends at the drag strip. That's got to be a lot and very unique situation.
Well, it is. John is very good. She's a very smart and talented young lady. It's John's daughter, and like you said, Jim Dunn's granddaughter. And she comes over, and after working at the hospital, she'll come out and help John with the clutch. So very smart girl, and very proud of her. And she's always an asset to our team. She also does all the social media for Jim Dunn Racing. So she's a very busy lady.
Yes, hopefully she'll share this so we'll get more views.
Exactly. We're all going to share it.
What is your goals and expectation for the rest of this season? We still got about 10, 15 races left. What is your goals for the rest of the season?
Well, the goals for the rest of the season, the number one goal is we would like to win a race, along with making the countdown. But we'd like to make the top 10 and a little bit more. So 3 goals. One is to do the best possible job that we can. Number 2, like I said, is to win a race, make the countdown. And, when the countdown comes around, all the points are reset. So if we can just stay close to everybody and make the countdown, then you're separated by 10 parts. So it really comes down to 2 seasons, all the way up to Indy and then the countdown race. So if you do good during the regular season and you're part of the countdown or fortunate enough to be part of the countdown, I know Big Jim wants to go after it hard. So he'll definitely be out there, and we'll be running some good numbers, I hope.
Jim, you talked about racing at the U.S. Nationals. For a guy from California and knowing the history of the sport, what's it like racing at that event?
Well, the U.S. Nationals is our Super Bowl. So, NASCAR has their Daytona 500. IndyCar just had the Indy 500. The U.S. Nationals is extremely special. It's the biggest drag race on the planet, and you're going against the best competitors in the world in drag racing. So for me, it's just a pleasure to be lining up against, some of the other stars in our sport. And I like going fast, but the U.S. Nationals is definitely the race that you would like to win the most in NHRA.
Yes. They say if you don't win the championship, that's like consolation, but every driver wants to win the championship, and your career is defined by winning that U.S. Nationals. It's just like in NASCAR winning the Daytona 500.
Yeah, absolutely. IndyCar, like I said, had their Indy 500, Daytona 500 for NASCAR, and the U.S. Nationals for the NHRA is definitely, if you can win that, it can help set your career or help set the tone for it. But it's the biggest race on the planet for us, the big go.
Yes. Jim, you talked about racing in the funny car class, a very, very tough class to compete in. A lot of great and tough competitors to face day in and day out on that track. A lot of champions in the class today that you face, and one living legend, a 16-time champion in John Force. As a driver, what's it like to compete in the funny car class where you had Matt Hagan win yesterday? You have Ron Capps, you have Forrest Hyatt, and everybody else in the class to compete against. It's got to be very, very tough and challenging for you as a driver to compete against a lot of these drivers that you do face day in and day out.
Well, absolutely. It's a tough class, period. There's a lot of good cars, a lot of good drivers. It's always, a pleasure to line up against whoever you're lining up against. I don't really have one specific person that, I want to line up against. They're all tough competitors, and you never know what happens when you stomp the throttle of one of these things. So it's either going to go or it's not. And it is pretty cool to be able to line up against, some of the multi-time champions and be a part of NHRA drag races, especially in the funny car class.
Yes, it's very, 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 very close on competing. A lot of the times are very, very close, even though that you are driving so fast down the track. A lot of these rounds are won by mere inches, and you might not expect that, but that's what usually happens when both of these cars go down the track. a lot of them are won by just mere feet or inches.
Absolutely. Again, like I said, when you stomp the throttle on one of these things, you don't know what's going to happen. But if you're on a good run, it can be very close. Sometimes it comes down to a driver's race. Most of the time, I'll say it comes down if you can just make it from A to B without dropping a cylinder, you have a good chance of winning.
Jim, you talked about winning a race, and we've seen many times where Cameron Ferrari, for instance, he went to the final round a few races ago. Any day could be your day, so to speak, at racing, and you can get the round wins to make it to the final round. What would it mean to you, and what would it mean to your career to win your first race and hopefully many more after that?
Oh, I would be absolutely ecstatic. I think you would have to chase me because I'd be running down the track with a Wally. No, I would be absolutely excited. I know Jim Dunn Racing would be excited. They've won Wallies before. I came close, but not close enough. And so my first race will be absolutely the most memorable moment, or one of the most memorable moments of my life.
I would like to close on this, Jim. Every race, it usually happens at every race. The NHRA has this first responder um, gathering at the beginning of the show where they bring out local first responders from every track area, and they usually put it in the TV package, but they have them go down the track, usually go down the track or close by the track, and they honor them in a way to showcase what they do, and they have um, uh, what's it, Greenwald's song play. Um, as a firefighter and a first responder, how moving, how special is that for you to see?
Well, as all of our first responders, I appreciate all of their hard work out there. This world revolves around our first responders, and we appreciate everybody that puts their life on the line for our protection, along with our military and everything like that. All the freedoms and things that we take for granted, the first responders and our military give us that comfort to know that help us out there. And again, the safety safari, I can't say enough about them. They do a phenomenal job. And I know if something happens in that car, that they will be there to help me as soon as they can.
Thanks for your time tonight, Jim. I know you had a rough day, delays getting back from Epping, New Hampshire, so I appreciate you coming on today. I know you had to fight after getting back in California, then you had to fight traffic. So I appreciate you coming on tonight, and good luck at the rest of the season. I will see you at Maple Grove in September. What's that, the September 16th, 17th, 18th, I think it is. So I will see you there at Maple Grove. And like I said, good luck with the rest of the season.
Well, Anthony, it's been an honor and a pleasure to be on your show as usual. I appreciate everything you do for our sport, and I look forward to seeing you in Maple Grove.
Thanks.
All right. Take care.
Everyone outside of being on Facebook and YouTube Live right now, this broadcast will be uploaded onto Rumble and BitChute in the next few days. Also uploaded onto Anchor.fm.
So I want to throw one more shout out to all the fans too. We appreciate your support in drag racing.
Yes, you guys make it so memorable for the drivers to getting all the autograph, for them to give out the autographs, for the interactions. It's so special for the drivers. And what I hear from a lot of drivers is they may have a rough day at the office racing, but when they talk to the fans, it doesn't mean anything that they had a rough day, because you fans make the difference in their day at the track.
Absolutely. I enjoy talking with the fans. Anytime they want to come up and I'm outside, I'll be more than happy to talk to them. So it's the only motorsport that you can come up and actually talk to the pro drivers without having 900 different credentials.
Yes. Thanks again for your time.
All right, Anthony, you take care of yourself, and we'll see you in Maple Grove.
All right. You too.
All right.